In the deep folds of the Himalayas lies a kingdom that's been isolated for centuries. This is Bhutan, the last bastion of Vajrayana or Tantric Buddhism. This mystical land of 700,000 people opened its doors to the outside world when it began planned development in 1960. Here, the last vestiges of an ancient way of life are kept alive in Buddhist monasteries and chortens, memorials to the teachings of Buddha. But today, Bhutan's sacred treasures are in danger of being forgotten, lost forever. Time has taken its toll on aging structures. The old has been neglected, something the Culture Department is concerned about. An inspiration provided by the King of Bhutan, His Majesty Jigme Singye Wangchuk. The government has decided that cultural preservation is a vital element in ensuring a happy nation.
양심인 최초기 톨레베디기 따와진 개와 공만남기 배움에 제제메 딜리 진압지 두생하시 노스탄 고베스 노메 다디 최초기 카툴레 노사 마타마베 가치레기 람룩스기 카툴레지 와이 가치기 해마기로 데 곰디스기 댐치 조자메데 따시데 다른 나방아치기 추체와 조베 랍베디기 공기 조누 세디기 지따이간레 디디나미스미기 가치라지 임베 빼된 숨지 오님메 디디기 고아딜랭고베 세디
There are more than 2,000 ancient monasteries in Bhutan, a testimony to the deep spirituality of the country and its people. With a strong living culture, Bhutan's skills in building and artistic expression allows it to keep its heritage alive.
Here in Bhutan, our cultural heritage lives on. It is on a continuum. It continues to grow and develop. It's very dynamic. And there isn't really a distinctive separation of what might have constituted a past heritage and what is now. What we hope to do, as I said, is to divert the tendency to build new to building and restoring the old.
The tradition is exceptional in that, you have a bunch of carpenters who, without a set of drawings, can build a temple, and you won't find this in many countries.
In recent years, the government has become a little concerned that the people, in their enthusiasm, were rebuilding rather than restoring ancient structures and paintings. There's a growing trend to demolish and build new rather than to conserve. Monasteries like Gangte in Phupchika Valley started restoration in the nick of time. Its ancient sacred art is literally crumbling off the walls as rescue efforts begin. The Tongsa Dzong is an example of a recent conservation project as Bhutan tries to restore its ancient treasures despite limited resources. There's a severe shortage of trained conservators, less than a dozen for the entire country. Conservation is made more difficult by the ingrained Buddhist belief in the impermanence of all things, from life to paintings and buildings. Hence, the removal of ancient works of art has not, until now, been considered a loss. The district of Bumthang in central Bhutan is the spiritual heartland of the country. According to an ancient saying, many great kings have lived in Bumthang, and the magnificent monasteries are a legacy to a glorious past. The tantric form of Buddhism has thrived on this land for nearly 1,300 years, and in every village community, life evolves around the important local monastery. The more than 90 ancient monasteries in Bhutan are known for their rare collections of sacred heritage, paintings, statues, and other religious objects. Some of these forgotten treasures are in need of repair and conservation, and outsiders have been invited to help save them.
The American Himalayan Foundation, with which we are collaborating in the restoration of the Buli Lhakhang or the Buli Lhakhang in Bhutan, Getza. There, I think some wonderful work is being done with the help of some experts who have been involved in restoration activities in the Himalayan Buddhist world.
Recently, a team of conservators came to Getza to take up an important experiment at Buli Monastery. Residents from Buli village have been roped in to learn new conservation techniques. John Sanday is using his experience as an architect to work with local carpenters and engineers.
This is the principal entrance to Buli Lhakhang, and I remember walking up here the first time and thinking, wow, what a mess. What must this structure have looked like? You have the corner section here, which is set off these brackets. These brackets are set into the wall. And then you can follow them all the way along.
The front of the monastery, the Rapse, was rebuilt 60 years ago. Today, structural movements have cracked and bent the pillars inside. People were afraid that the front of the monastery was on the verge of collapse. The Buli Monastery, or the Lendup Yosel Chiling Lhakhang, was built about 5 centuries ago in Buli village, a hamlet of barely a dozen families. Many families still send a son to the monastery to follow the spiritual path. Bhutan is an oral society where history is kept alive through word of mouth. Buli Monastery was built by an incarnation of a 14th century saint, Doji Lingpa, and this monk's grandfather was a patron of the monastery. For the head monk, Lam Nakfe, and the community, Buli Monastery is an important link with their cultural roots. Buli is more than a temple. It's a center for Buddhist education for 30 Gomchins or lay monks who enter the monastery as young novitiates. Their studies include reading and writing, Buddhist philosophy, rites and rituals, and tantric dance. Like other monasteries around the kingdom, Buli Lhakhang had suffered wear and tear over the centuries and had undergone several renovations.
Si yun kadulo si panalo nga ani bituba teledoro digigu ani yun lu tosumbeoda ye kadulo he.
A village elder up Gimbo tries to recall what the monastery looked like in the 1960s. He was one of the carpenters who worked on the restoration of Buli then. On hearing about the conservation work, 82-year-old Tashi Gelson decides to visit. He provides more information as the project team pieces together the history of the monastery.
아니 미세티소 라가디다 텐데 되빌라 불라타미 세미디소 라가디기 미세 헤말레네비 되노라 te debibe dal haga de ramso ka SM pham ani bide dal haga so so me sem debero dare nabani lo ro sunlete na nale jende gite lesembe chapte sune di ngasi sisuru alo di sugesti nareila tiginam sam sem gomela lesembe jome se te somebody dike mela tika chimtu chinde rangi be maso te rogi be mi beodan mapalera rammela
essentially that leads up eventually to the courtyard.
That's interesting. So that's where you got those three.
One of the keys to conservation is research, and veteran carpenters like Abgimbo is a wealth of knowledge and skills. With its imminent collapse, the facade of the monastery was one of the first priorities. Conservation requires good teamwork. It's a process of close consultation with the village carpenters and district authorities. Zo Joktang, or Carpenter Quick Hands, learns the essentials of conservation. Living up to his nickname, he's done a drawing of a possible solution to the front rapse, or window. And this is the basis on which the project will now restore the front of the monastery.
We need to support this.
As work continues on the facade, the team unearths what seems to be like hidden treasure, a mandala kachan or pillar reminiscent of ancient times.
I mean, these are priceless pieces of art, in fact, because they date from the time that the temple was built, and they're one of very few that actually contain what they call the mandala kachin, which is a 12-sided pillar. There's some very interesting decoration at the top. There are some inscriptions. Here we're actually having to think of the best way of repairing, the most invisible way of repairing a structure.
Conservation meeting a chera chili beojin the durabi laganim the namisami cha chedokto ji beoli den dibe dilu namisami gara yale mabe juli juthata shub shaudalo shili gadim jibe dadu chusigi banalo Buli Lhakhang majimi mi chi hebajin ya anil Lhakhang wa nyama nimdi dio memji yusime de dari gara sab sodam dalo nyama nimdi gachi zum jubinase khongi riba lemi sunime no digibe de dadu shidi khora nimdi golo de gachi jurjure cherna masya yi godi disoya khora nyama ga yumidira somidi de shule mongole diro de ani tashilbati solo namisami pentoni gidele is shunela
Mawang sing buka sesuatu sesuatu kajin not sesuatu kampura sesuatu masuk ke sana sesuatu kampura cengzi masih lok besar besar mana lagi saya ini masih.
Pernah saya uji bunani cinta saya rui bahasa. Jenisnya rui je hanya besar besar kalau aku masuk ke dalam lagi. Sesuatu yang saya lama di tempat saya kamu sesuatu.
The carpenters are learning to deal with rotting wood by replacing only the affected part of the timber instead of changing the whole structure.
You're always thinking, you're always coming up against new problems, and you have to think of new ways usually of how to solve or to strengthen a broken piece of timber. I mean, the easiest way is to pull it out and put in a new piece, but that's not what we're here to do.
Inside the monastery, the team learns to replace and reuse all the materials possible. The team is now identifying exactly where the mandala is below. The planks will then be treated against infestation and the floorboards will be reinstated. Another visitor arrives and soon becomes a familiar face in the village. Rodolfo Lujan is passing on the delicate skills of uncovering old paintings and preserving the original artwork.
Maybe we should fix that plastic on top, then do a cut here. You see what I think what we're going to do is you see there's a plank directly above this that we hope we can leave, so you could actually pin it up, but I mean we can't guarantee that.
In the lower temple, dedicated to the future Buddha Maitreya, are original wall paintings, renditions of deities and Buddhas now lost in the darkness of the temple. Bhutan's art portray the teachings of Tantric Buddhism in vivid form and color. They're found on the walls of old monasteries, often dulled by age, soot, and dust. Bhutanese artists are highly skilled in a style of craftsmanship characteristic of Himalayan Buddhism. These paintings are not just for artistic pleasure or personal expression. They have strong symbolic meaning, and the images help practitioners evoke the wisdom and compassion of Buddhist teachings.
Here, yellow is very... No action, no paint. Here, yellow is very sensitive, very delicate to cotton abrasion. We don't know the name of the painter, but when painting is like an act of faith, and you unite nature with faith, and you put it on the wall. And I think this is the most important thing for these paintings.
Structural problems have damaged the 19th century wall paintings in the lower temple. A member of the team explains what she's learned about conservation. Village trainees learn how to prepare the solutions for cleaning the wall paintings.
I'm going to bicarbonate it in water. You stir it nicely so that it works well while cleaning.
While many people now appreciate the importance and spiritual wealth of the older paintings, few have the skills to restore them. The concept of conservation is new to Bhutan, but the Getsa community is learning fast on the job.
We have butter lamps, and the smoke of the butter lamps have, let's say, covered with soot the paintings. Then we found another surprise. Sometime maybe the joists in the ceiling or the woodwork was varnished, and we found many splashes on top of the painting. This shellac fixed the soot on the paintings, and now it's a little bit difficult to remove, let's say.
The chemical mixture dissolves the grease and surface dirt. This is the beginning of a meticulous process to clean the wall paintings to reveal its past splendor. Conservators from the government's Department of Culture are also involved in the task. Their first job is to prepare the central statue of Jambyang for surgery, repositioning a broken toe with mud mortar.
This is part of our past. It's part of our identity. Every country needs historical identity to live. I think it's very difficult to tear down completely because then our culture is lost. If we destroy all this, we don't know where we come from. It's lost. We are nothing anymore.
The Buli project has helped Lam Nakfe and his community understand the importance of conservation.
The private sector, civil society, I think, has a very important role to play. And because, here again, because of the spirituality of the Bhutanese people and the interest they have in putting up new structures and so on, religious structures and so on, we think we will be able to tap into that. And what we are now doing and have already done is to advocate that there is more merit in the restoration of old structures than in building new temples, monasteries, and stupas.
Life remains undisturbed for the lay monks in Buli. They continue with their daily routine, oblivious to the attempts to save Buli's past. Perhaps it's because their past is still so much a part of their present. In spring, new life stirs in Bumthang. The village of Buli is preparing for the Buli Mani Drupchen, or the big fire blessing festival that's held every 2 years. Lam Nakfe and his Gomchins are the key players in this festival and are responsible for staging the main ritual dances. The novitiates have been looking forward to the ceremony for almost 2 years, and it's an opportunity for them to put into practice what they've learned at Buli Lhakhang. It's now the eve of the Drupchen. The Zongda, the district administrator, visits to take stock of what has been achieved with members of the conservation team.
The Buli Lhakhang the natera nyam so shuren chi se the lodak pachi banalo nyam so mashudo chi pachin the Buli Lhakhang lok nyam so shua lahatang nyam so shude berura the loktera sar sing chap duzumbera begok theong se.
The Mani Drupchen is a community affair that brings together everyone in the vicinity to receive blessings and to participate in an important social occasion. Final touches are being put in place for the Drupchen, which begins with a mewang or a fire blessing. By evening, the village gathers for what is truly a community festival. The tantric master and his team of monks focus on invoking the blessings of the guardian deities and dispelling negative energies. The Lama conducts the rituals to prepare for the moment that everyone's been waiting for. People from Buli believe that the fire blessings helps to clean them of all negativities for the coming year. Of the early morning before the crowds gather again. He prays for the success of the Drupchen and gives thanks for the conservation that's helped to revive an ailing monastery. For the Bhutanese, these murals are not just paintings, but deities for worship. Their emergence from the darkness of soot and damage is spiritually important for continued prayer and meditation. Today, Aptashi and the other village elders look forward to a special day at the Drupchen. This year, the festival takes place around a monastery that's been restored to its ancient glory. The festival is now in full swing, and Buli residents are happy with the reinstatement of their monastery. For the village elders and those involved in the conservation of Buli, this is an important moment.
Ngemadi nebi mela ngemadi dir na doshe berura rakrokji olam meba dara leshima yasi shunli na roram zedi de roram zemi mit lese yumbe yajira yasi la de
lagadi ta ngema kosugi shup ane pedaludi ta ngachigi samchela de noiba ta ngema sum di jomisuniu ta lok sosochi shiniu no ti ane be no dalu dari na baso sauda be ta te ngema ta ewa me pe chora chi pe de ta hogi kadebe yipsumbe ane be soni di namsam ane gi sem gaila
dangi no solo be wachindi da rangin so masu se ragan rangi be rogi na chilipsuge roram be de tiktik be sino mela leshimi bese
아시 나길 하거디 해마 교검 추기제 투민 제심 낭디기나 하거디 남스미 레심베 신샤노스 신노 대별로 되는지 나기 미스소데 아지지 세남 나라기 녹선 배워진 아지지마 제 조노세 가슴에서 오신 사과 냄진염소 쇼소이 디비디비로라 데이터를 근처기 거든리 텐데 투민리 텐데 체기야 허블레 조라마는 진행되기 해멀릴 합병하시 나기 졸라한데 아니비데 녹스님 수 참미들 나라기 녹설레 남스메 거티가서 봄이 남스메 셈가이 세션 데 날레파비로라데 아닐릴 합베 자 날레파 아님지 들으라 해머스미 로소디스 손이 비르르데 도르르 록데기 데 아님지 오미선세 데 남스미로 봄이 세션
나기 불리다 나 붐타동카키 데 부스테붐 마세 대신 아치라 파 팀푸 다 다시양테 소리 주소니기 나레 종달자메 툴레 나루 코나 보심레 데 콘레 데 아치라 냠소기 콜레 하가 냠소디 데 당포팅포 가데비에 비나니도 쪼라테 베샤니기 데 자와 데 레심베 콘로 데 loklo라나 톱키슬람니 데 펜바치 아니면 펜바니발로 heb달로 마치라 마옹발로 마치라 아니둠기 냠속이 레귤 데 나베드르라 신동과 생칼레 베데베르라 데 마치라기 생칼레미 데 레셰베 퇴망고바 마치레 다리나바 아니 불이 레귤날로 데 콘종달 지미기 부스타 붐투기 데 냠소 슈투니기 데 고카 bombe라두
The story of Buli is a story of Bhutan, an ancient world struggling to survive in modern times. The conservation of Buli Monastery is an important experience for the people of Getsa and for all Bhutanese. Bhutan's living culture can now be better preserved for the future of the Himalayan kingdom and to help keep alive the country's forgotten treasures.